Dun, dun, dun. There we go. There we go. We're ready to go. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Monday. We're here. We made it. We did it. We got to Monday. It was a busy weekend. Everybody's okay. We had snowstorms here and there. Canada was a bit of a mess. The United States was a mess. Twitter's a mess. Elon Musk is a mess. We had the Grey Cup this weekend and joining us once again. And I love it when he shows up like this. Please welcome one of my nearest and dearest, one of our co-hosts or hosts of this very program, an incredibly hungover Lachlan Cross, ladies and gentlemen. Lachlan,
thank you. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. How you doing?
I'm thankful that I took the day off. I took the morning off.
Yeah.
We've learned our lesson, right? Because whenever we have these events where there's going to be serious amounts of drinking, we take Super Bowl Monday off. We now take Grey Cup Mondays off. And again, it's just, I was saying to you, the stupidity of it is just shocking. I mean, I don't even care about the teams playing. We go to a bar and we just get tanked.
Yeah.
And last night, I don't even know when I got home. I undressed in the mud room because I got home with everything, though. Yeah, went down to just check on everything. Everything's down there, including the dildos. 5 glorious dildos from a game we played. And then I had to Google, just before getting on the podcast, how do you clean a dildo? Because I've never owned one. And so the last batch we had, we didn't maintain them properly and they all melted into each other.
Yeah, but why do you have 5 of them?
I have, musical dildos.
Oh, silly me.
Played, so we play this game. We put 5 dildos on a table.
Yeah.
And we put 6 people around the table. And then we have a prize pack at the end for the last man standing. And we start music. And they got to walk around the table in a bar.
You did that in the game last night? You did that during the game, during the
halftime
last night?
Halftime, and then we did it at the end.
Yeah.
And then they walk around and around and around, and then the music stops, and everyone's got to grab a dildo. And we lube them up as well. So there's the possibility that they're going to be hard to grab. One might squeeze out of a hand.
Yeah, I got it.
The funniest one was we played the first game at halftime, and this dude, who I called his name to call him up to play, and he was at a table with like 8 friends, and they all like, yeah, you could tell he was not into this at all, but his buddies were like, get up there, come on, Mike. The music stops and he just turned around and walked back to the table angrily.
Didn't want to grab a dildo, I love those guys. Those guys that are like seriously scared of grabbing a dildo just in case they like it. He's like, fuck, I gotta go.
We had to come up with a new rule last night too, just in case, and I had to do it on the fly because a couple of times there was 2 people on one dildo because the hush that gave us the dildos, they're pretty big, and we got the good dildos, and so if they both grabbed it at the same time, the rule is whoever has the balls.
How can you tell me you live in Edmonton without telling me you live in Edmonton?
It was a huge hit. I'll send you the video.
No, I'm good.
Oh, and the best part is we made Jimmy lube them. So Jimmy, you got a 5-foot table and a 4-foot man, and he's walking around lubing them, and then we made him re-lube them for the second match. Of course you did. He goes, "Why am I always the luber?" I don't know, little buddy. It's funny watching a midget lube a dildo.
Oh my God! Well, I'm glad you had a great weekend. Oh my God! I got tears coming out of my eyes. That is what you do in Edmonton, I guess, during the Grey Cup when the Eskimos are like 2-14 or whatever. They finish the
Haven't won a home game in 4 years.
3 years. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
And yeoman's work. Fuck, I'm really crying because the great. I didn't watch a second of it last night. I thought, woke up at 1 o'clock.
Toronto won.
I guess so. Yeah, like by a point or something like that. By a rouge, is that correct? They won.
Well, apparently they left all the kickers at home.
Yeah,
like they didn't let any of the kickers join the team this time of year for the game.
I didn't know.
So I don't know who they were. The bus driver, the guy that drove them to Regina, to kick the ball.
Probably, yeah. Toronto won the Grey Cup yesterday. Yeah, but
there you go. Congratulations.
Might be the funniest story I've heard in a long time.
You guys gonna have a parade?
No, dude, it didn't even register. Like if you go to the front page of any news here in the city of Toronto, nothing. There's nothing. It's zero. I haven't seen one tweet this morning. One tweet about congratulations to the Toronto Argonauts. Nothing. It's literally like we treat the CFL like you guys treat the Emergency Act inquiry, by the way, which was exciting today. But that's just the way it works. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. And we got a couple guests today, and I'm really excited to have both of these guys on because they're both coming with us on a new adventure when we switch over and can't really talk about it. We've been mentioning it. But they're two of my favorite guys when it comes to content delivery, when it comes to what they do. And I love having one of these guys on, and it's the other guy's first foray into joining us today. But he's a superstar in his own right as well. And both of them, great hearts, great minds, real smart guys. And it's a pleasure to bring them both in. Please welcome social media educator and expert, Mr. Jesse Miller from Mediated Reality, ladies and gentlemen. He's an author, a TEDx guy. Look at him. He's looking good. He's looking hot down there. He looks like a little bit of a male model. Speaking of male models, we have Chad Kroger's younger body double on with us today. Callum McInnes, ladies and gentlemen. You may know him from some of these videos. Let me just give you a taste. This is a little bit of Callum, just to remind you who he is. Here you go.
Where to begin? Everything is terrible. Canada is on fire. Send help. First off, we got emergency rooms across Canada experiencing a spike in respiratory illnesses. Not just COVID, but also RSV and severe cases of the flu. This is putting many hospitals, especially children's hospitals, at capacity. This is really the cherry on top of the little dystopian hellscape cake we got going on. You've heard of hallway medicine. How about children literally being treated in hospital cafeterias because there's not enough rooms? Good.
There you go. That's Callum.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Callum McInnes and Jesse Miller. They join us today. Nice to see you. You guys know each other, right? Like Callum, Jesse, because actually, how I came to know Callum's stuff, Jesse, you were the first person to send me anything Callum did. Remember that?
Yeah, I made it a personal issue to find Callum's stuff on TikTok and get people on Twitter to notice it because I realized the Twitter crowd was missing some really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
really
it?
Pulled me into Twitter, actually.
Who? Jesse
Twitter.
did?
Yeah, I wasn't on Twitter barely at all.
Yeah.
Super occasionally, and then I would get notifications that Jesse is sharing my videos, and it was like getting a good response on Twitter. So that's kind of why I moved to be more on Twitter at all. So
you got to amplify content. I push them on Facebook too, but nobody really cares because no one's on Facebook. So
well, plus his content's like it's responsible and accountable, right? So you can push him on Facebook all you like, but they'll be like, we don't want common sense around here. We just need people on the hard right getting crazy, everybody. And he does really accountable stuff. But I'm glad to have both of you guys because obviously we do a little work together loosely. We'll be working together a little more in the next couple of weeks and some stuff that we've been talking about in terms of accountability. That's what both of you guys do. Where Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. It is a shit show. Callum lost his YouTube account. Social media and where it goes and what's happening is like order of the day. It's front page news every single day. We can't get away from it. So I wanted to have both you guys on to talk about it because it's kind of like gray areasville right now. Like, you know, back when they were bombing people, whether it was Twitter, whether it was Instagram, whether it was Facebook, you kind of knew generally where you sat in terms of your content. Jesse, and I wanted to kind of drop this on your lap as we get started, and then I'll turn it over to Callum. And I know Lachlan and I are both, we're a little bit older than you guys, and we're both like, whatever. How many wires are there, and do we have to do any extra work? Like, we really don't understand it the way that you guys understand it. You live it and you breathe it, and you educate people all the time, Jesse. But what I wanted to ask you was, what the fuck do you make of Twitter today? Like, when you look at what happened over the past 2 weeks, what happened this weekend, and we'll get to what Elon Musk has been tweeting about. We'll get to Donald Trump. But, like, what do you make of Twitter today that you didn't maybe make of Twitter like 2 weeks ago? How do you assess what's going on over there through the lens of, your profession and in your education?
So a couple of notes. Twitter always had the potential to be better than it was. It always had the potential. The thing here is that Elon Musk coming in and taking it from a public company and privatizing it and dictating the way that he thinks the platform should be. I mean, that's business. There's a capitalistic structure there that needed to be exploited if somebody had enough money to spend $44 billion on this stupid thing. But the reality of it is a public entity, as a tool for democracy, as a tool for getting people to be aware of things, what a great space to already have a huge amount of people who are verified, and journalists and political identities coming together and saying, let's have good discourse. Let's participate. And then whether or not you want to chime in with a joke, or whether or not you want to, highlight something that you are, feeling marginalized about, that's where Twitter had the potential. Musk comes in and he basically dictates and says, this is what I think it needs to look like. He's decimated his staff. He told people they were redundant. And you had people who were dedicating their lives to getting a social media entity to a better spot saying, we're done, we're out. And so the reality of it is he's monetized parts of it. He wants people to pay for verification, which I think is absolute bullshit. Everybody should be verified on the platform, no matter who you are. You should have a pathway to be able to be verified and not sit there and be an anonymous account. But the thing is, for anonymous accounts to exist, they should exist for purpose. And we've seen whistleblowers on social media who have highlighted shitty employers or targeted, celebrities who do bad things, and they need a little bit of anonymity to be safe. But the hard part here is Twitter should be a town square. It should be a place where people can have healthy discourse and not feel threatened that somebody's going to stab them in the neck or show up at their front door. But unfortunately, that's their society half the time. These people just want to see the world burn, and Musk seems to be kind of inclined to let that part happen before whatever reset occurs on Twitter.
But okay, so here's a question. And Locke, I know you might agree with me. I don't know if you will, Jesse. Callum, I'm not sure where you at because it's like the first time we've done an interview, but we'll figure it out. I've enjoyed Twitter over the past 2 weeks more so than ever. Now, I'm also fucked in the head. Let me just put that out there. Is that I'm a big fan of chaos. I can give it as good as I get it. And I've lost 200 followers over the past couple of days. These are all people that have just kind of split. They're like, I can't handle this place. This is too crazy. But to me, Twitter was, and Alok, I want your thoughts on this. You too, Callum, everybody's thoughts. To me, Twitter was becoming too preventative, right? Now, I want to get to the selfish part that you mentioned about Elon, but is there not a case to be made for allowing people to decide that I'm not interested in this, so I'm just going to block that? Like, aren't there functionalities built into things like Twitter where we can encourage people to exercise their options? Because I happen to really, and you're going to hate me for it, like when Elon put this up today, I loved it. Like, I know you guys are going to get mad, but so what people don't know, or what you might, is he unlocked Donald Trump's account, right?
Why does Jesus look like Jordan Peterson? Like,
he does have a bit.
That's a great question.
Like,
I don't know. But
just as a note, like the Auschwitz Museum has a Twitter account, right? Like, you go to Auschwitz to understand the atrocity of Auschwitz. They've stated they've lost 18,000 followers in the past couple of weeks since Musk has taken over. The commentary to that is full of anti-Semitism and horrible shit. And I think that there should be two lanes on Twitter. If you're tweeting to a verified account that's as sensitive as, let's say, the Auschwitz Museum, maybe let's just tone down the anti-Semitism. Maybe that doesn't need to be there. And so that opt-out means if you got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. But the reality of it is that you might not care you lost 200 followers. I lost a couple hundred. I don't care about the bots. I usually check to see how many verified accounts even pay attention to me in the sense of bot versus legitimate. But what kind of societal discourse do we want? Do you want the town hall where people come up and say, I got a good idea. You might not agree with it, but I'd like to discuss it and see if we can come to a happy medium? Or do you want to see the entire auditorium scream fire and watch the people try and get out one exit door?
I'll jump in here if you don't mind, Dean. Just based on, like, I love the fact that Jesse has this idea that it has the potential of being something, right? And I've never actually heard anybody say that out loud, because I've always hung out with people that use social media as a tool to amplify their stupidity. So they're this whole idea of this town square, and we're going to share ideas and make the world a better place. That's not why I got onto Twitter. But I do appreciate the fact that there is an element of that with people that use social media, and that's a good thing. Unfortunately, I think the reality is that the world is a shit show. And I think if Twitter is reflecting that more because of Elon Musk taking over, I don't know if that was his goal or not, but I always viewed it as a bit of a shit show. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. I'm always surprised by how the world sort of plays out, right? Like we have this big Christmas tree they put up every year in Sir Winston Churchill Square downtown, and it's a massive tree, and they light it up, and it's a ceremony, and someone canceled it. It doesn't matter who, but somebody canceled it. Okay. So we went to the square and put up a locker room tree. And we were like jokingly just putting up a stupid tree because people are upset about it. I mean, honestly, I think it's dumb that they canceled it, but I'm not that invested in the tree. It was a stunt. Well, you should have seen all the negative comments and racist comments that showed up in this stupid bit that we did. And we had to keep an eye on it for a day. And we had to block a bunch of people over a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Right? Because the mayor's last name is Sohi. Right? And he didn't even cancel the damn tree. And like we stoked the fires by saying war on Christmas. I guess it's just a reflection. It's a reflection of what society is. And I think if you go to these platforms with the expectation that it's anything other than that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And I think that's the wild card stuff, right? That Jesse's talking about. But let's take Callum, for example. Like what we're talking about is the fact that Elon Musk allowed a whole bunch of unsavory people back on Twitter this last weekend. That caused a big fucking kerfuffle. I say, as we're talking here, I don't mind Elon's new Twitter. I don't mind Twitter 2.0. I think it's actually kind of funny. I'm not a fan of religion, so I like the fact that he dragged all the evangelical crazies with a picture of Donald Trump pretending to be Jesus being tempted by Twitter, which in this case was a hooker's backside in this picture. Like, to me, that's fun. But, you know, we don't consider the other stuff. Like, I don't follow the Auschwitz Museum, right? I didn't see the anti-Semitic marks. And a lot of those people are allowed to act like that. And so for me, it's like we take into account the things that we can manage, things we can respond to. But what you're talking about is the wild card nature of society, right? Like these people are allowed to come and go as they please, say what they like. And under the new terms of service, I guess, at Twitter, I don't even know how they get away from it if they've changed the terms of service. Hate speech is very much allowed. In fact, Elon Musk said that to start the week. Last week, he's like, hey, listen, freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. So he believes in all forms of speech, whether it be hate or not, but doesn't seem to care about the flotsam and jetsam when it comes to really, really hateful shit, right? Whereas a guy like Callum, like I knew what Twitter was all about. I knew what could get us suspended. I still don't know what can get you suspended or taken off of YouTube, which has happened to us twice. Happened to Callum this weekend, right? Callum is one of the best YouTubers I know, one of the best like video guys I know, one of the most honest brokers when it comes to information accountability and stuff, and very funny. So
Thank
Callum, you're very welcome. You've been doing this for about a year now, and you had your account removed, but you have no idea how or why, correct? Like zero.
Yeah, this email is pretty much the gist of it. And it says violations of community guidelines. And if you click that hyperlink, doesn't give me a reason, just they said incitement of violence, but not any specific thing. So I can't even tell you exactly what gets you kicked off of YouTube because they didn't even
say what that was. They didn't
Did
tell
you?
you.
Did you?
Calvin,
Are you fighting?
Calvin, did you go after a theme park again? Did you try and cause chaos with a theme park?
I mean, maybe I didn't even think about that. A lot of people said like maybe it's angry right wingers or like a targeted campaign by like someone I made fun of, like a politician. But I didn't even think back to the amusement park. Maybe it's something to do with that. They're still holding a grudge over that one, I guess.
What was the amusement park one?
Yeah, you got to fill us in here.
Oh, you guys don't even know.
No. Jesse's laughing already. It's probably a good one.
Geez. I guess before I got on Twitter all the time, when I was more on TikTok, I kind of got into it with this local amusement park in Calgary. Not even really meaning to get into it. I wanted to go one day, and the tickets were very expensive, so I did a series of videos basically saying this park kind of sucks. Like, how can you justify these outrageous ticket prices? And like, I know you guys are in Ontario, Dean is, I'm not sure about Lachlan's in Alberta, I suppose. You know what Callaway Park is, maybe Lachlan.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
For frame of reference, if you're looking at a place like Canada's Wonderland, Callaway Park has like one roller coaster. It's barely an amusement park. It's like a carnival ride. It's like the Stampede is better than Callaway Park. But anyway, I made a couple videos about it, and someone shared it to Instagram, to which Callaway Park actually reached out to me, and they're like, hey, send us your phone number and we'll talk or whatever. And I thought they were going to give me like tickets or like something because the video did quite well. And I'm like, well, they're reaching out to me. What's going to happen here? And as the moment they got on the phone, they started threatening to sue me. And I was like, for TikTok videos? And so I recorded the phone call. So I recorded the phone call and posted that to YouTube, which did quite well again. And I don't think there was ever a follow-up from them after that.
No, because you'll record it.
It got some like local TV coverage, and there's a bit of a thing locally.
Yeah, but you know what happened with you though? In this, I could be wrong, but when it came to this thing that you did,
yeah,
I had a conversation with someone the other day. Jesse, I don't know if you know these people exist, but the Conservative Party employs groups of people to report accounts, to literally go through high profile. Really? Oh yeah, online. Have you heard of these guys?
Is this a conspiracy theory, or do we know this?
No,
I try to stay away from conspiracy theories.
Yeah, what is it, Jesse? Like, what do you know about this?
So obviously, every political party has a war room, right? And the war room is positioned to try and collect data on opponents and like who's going to potentially be the person running for MP in a riding. What can we find out about them? But they also go and flag things that are counterproductive to their own efforts. So they have these individual think tanks that are kind of designed around political strategery, the George Bush strategery, but they get into it based on highlighting anything that seems counter to their efforts to get really good clicks. And so they report comments, they report videos that have been created, and they can potentially get these things taken down based on knowing how to operate within the terms of service.
See, that's the issue that I have with the world that we live in, the social media world, if I can even call it that, is because it actually has been exploited and taken advantage of. I mean, I've bitched about the blue check mark thing because I attempted to try to get one. I've tried to get verification 3 times. I've been turned down every time. Yet I know
Why
some
do they
people
turn
that
you? Why do they turn
they
you
don't
down for
say. They just
verification?
at this time you are not. And again, like it. And I've got people that have like thousands less followers than me that are verified for whatever reason. So, and I think it's because I didn't work for the right company, to be honest with you. So I honestly believe that in broadcast, that if you work for a bigger company and they're pushing it, then but if you're doing it on your own and you work for a smaller company, you're just not going to get it. So to me, it's bullshit. The whole verification thing is complete bullshit anyway. So when it went away, or when you could pay $8 for it, I was like, all right, I'm going to pay, but I'm waiting for the dust to settle on the whole thing. So that's mine. And then the whole YouTube thing, I don't know. People have reported me for things that I've put up there, and then I had to fight to get back on. Right? Like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense that we have rules at all. I get it. I think there's got to be a line somewhere that if there's something on there that is, that if you're doing damage to somebody's life, then it should be, you shouldn't be allowed on there. But
yeah, like the violation that I got was like incitement of violence, which is pretty serious. But if it's so, that would be like a reasonable rule. But I think it was applied wrongfully to me.
They should be able to prove it. Like, if they are going to,
I think they should have to prove it.
But
yeah.
they don't do that. They go on somebody's complaint, and boom, you're gone. Like, they'll delete your account. Like, I've had that happen to me a couple of times, and that to me is just bullshit.
I was going to say, you got to remember, it's subjective based on the automated review. So if there's a word that's used, that's where the automatic review highlights whether or not there's a word that's in their threshold or a usage of a threat to an individual. Look, Callum is one of the best political voices that we have in Canada that's not sitting on Global or CTV or CBC having conversations on election night. We've all seen those talking heads. The reason I always wanted to amplify Callum is because I like the way he speaks about politics in our country, politics in our provinces. And, the thing is, the reach and the growth has been exponential in social media terms. So whether it's backyard politics for Alberta, for Callum, or discussing federal politics and just kind of putting a torch to where we need to see something, I want to see that person then start to migrate to traditional spaces where more people can see. So the verification process of, does this person have an effective voice? Sure, you're getting 100,000, 200,000 views for a TikTok video. You're doing well. But what does it mean to have a verified book? Now, we all have colleagues like Dave Moskrop. Dave is a fantastic writer. He's a PhD. He's a great Canadian political voice. But he wrote a book, and his publisher was able to get him verified. It wasn't his PhD that got him verified. So when he does good TV, when he sits there and positions himself, that brand gets verified because the brand associated to the news agency goes and gets it. And to Lachlan, to your point, you might not have been working for the right employer to get that check mark, but just because you've done some media does not mean you're verifiable.
Yeah. You got to be super famous like me.
Sorry. Well, and originally the verification was meant so like nobody could impersonate anybody. Yeah. And I love that now the verification is being specifically used to impersonate people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't love it. I love how absurd it is. I actually dislike it. I'm more on Jesse's side with this one, but
my fake account, Coughlin Crotch, I'm going to try to get that verified.
You might be able to before you get yourself verified. That might be the crying shame of the whole thing. But I mean, different rules, right? Like, we just looked at YouTube. He has no idea why he got pumped. His account's gone. All the work that he's put in, all the subs that he's got, gone, right? And Jesse, this is a question for you, because we're staring down the barrel of Twitter. Now, Twitter doesn't have enough operating capital to make it through the year. We know how many people have left. I think 98% of their advertisers have bolted. He is destroying the platform. I happen to like it, but don't notice the really, really hurtful shit. And that's a problem for me. However, what has to happen? Because, when I look at Callum and then I watch what's happening with Twitter, who gives a shit about Facebook? I mean, it's its own kettle of toxicity, right? But, and I hate to ask you this because I asked you this like a year ago, and I want to ask you again. Should we see regulation of social media in not just this country, but in this country, in the United States? Is regulation, like, is he, speaking of which, Elon Musk, moving towards a society where the government in the United States, the government of Canada, has to say, listen, we need to step in here because you just platformed Jordan Peterson, right? Who went on like a fire hose of hatred when he got his account back. Fire hose of anti-trans hatred, fire hose of just general hatred. The guy just turned into a fucking psychotic lunatic the second he got
was
his
this?
Twitter.
Was this recent?
On the weekend. Yeah, dude.
The
He was
weekend,
he was all over it. This is his first tweet. He's like, I'm back. Thanks. He uses Jack from The Shining. I'm like, oh, look, the king of the incels brought back his Jedi master.
Wait, does he know that character was the bad guy? Like,
yeah.
They don't know how to watch movies. They don't get it.
They just find random memes and they're like, this is what I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely no media literacy on the right.
No.
Jordan, he made that hole in the door with an axe.
Then he, he's like, what should we do next? And he's like, consign the anonymous narcissist and psychopath trolls to hell. Then get some rest, good sir. Then he goes on more. Like, I mean, he was a fire hose, like literally a fire hose of hatred as soon as he got his account back. Now, I'm of the opinion that I can block my way out of that, Jesse, but are we going to start seeing, because of what's going on, because of the disparity between regulations, rules, who gets blocked? Because a lot of people use this for business, right? Like, we could see people lose their livelihood over losing their Twitter account or losing their YouTube account, correct?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I've never been an advocate for book burning or book banning. If we start with that idea of where people get pissed off about a book, don't read the book. But we're also at the stage where people are like, I want this book banned because I don't want it available in my kid's library. I don't want my kid being able to get access to it. And obviously there are parts of literacy that need to be addressed when it comes to storytelling or access or gating. Now in Canada, we've got some interesting rules, and a lot of people don't know about the rules when it comes to things like indecency. Like, we have indecency laws in Canada where you can't import books that have indecent acts that have been deemed to be indecent by a group of people put together to measure whether or not you should have access to that. So as an example, as a kid, I remember going to the corner store, the pornography was in the black bags up on the shelf. But as a researcher, as a sociologist, I look at it and go, who the hell's buying a porno mag at the airport after I pass through the security clearing? Do I want to be on a plane while somebody's flipping through a penthouse? And the question then becomes time and place. So if it's in your home, I don't give a shit if it's not hurting anybody, it's not exploiting anybody. You want to imagine whatever you want to imagine, go ahead and do that. You want to read a book that makes you think something different, that's fine. But if you take that different thought and you decide to get behind the wheel of a rental and drive through the streets of Toronto and kill people, no, we should not have that kind of vitriol or hate mongering available to you. And you need to have some mental health assessment. So Jordan Peterson wrote a book. In fact, I got one of his books on my shelf. Did I buy it? No, it was sent to me because somebody said, I want you to look at this and tell me what you think. This was prior to the publication. It tells you to make your bed. You don't want to make your bed, make your bed. You don't want to make your bed, don't make your bed. Make your choice. But it doesn't mean that all men in the world should subscribe to Jordan Peterson the way he sees things, because most of it's bullshit. Yeah. So in that, Peterson being on Twitter, I don't care if he's there, but if he's telling people it's the fault of these people or this person should not be called this name, you want to be called something, I'll call it to you. Tell me what you want to be called. It doesn't hurt me to call you whatever name you prefer. But if I need to give you a grade to facilitate your test, I need to know your legal name. I'm sorry that that's part of the process, but that's just the way it works. So in that, I don't want to see people censored on Twitter because they say something that's horrible. But if you are inciting violence or if you are hurting individuals, we do need to have some limitations in that. And to Callum's very point here, we don't know if Callum tried to incite violence. They need to give him an example. But if a politician didn't like that Callum said, hey, you might not be good for the province of Alberta, guess what? That's where voters have the right to say that. And Callum also has the right in freedom of expression to say, here are the reasons why. And I've got a whole bunch of receipts. And Callum's really good at doing that because the receipts are right there. So that's the thing. You pay attention to Callum on TikTok, you're going to see that.
Yeah, you do. But it's like, to your point, and I go back to this again because I value free speech. I love the fact that we should and could, have a society where, we're allowed to exchange ideas. And I try to take the name calling out of it when someone doesn't agree with mine, right? But that's all social media is. It's just a way for you to tell other people they're wrong.
You were honest with yourself and said try.
I don't. No, but it's true. Like, I'm on social media today. I was on Twitter today. I put this thing out about CSIS. Like, I don't know if you saw the latest news. The head of CSIS said, on the stand today, he's like, I told Justin Trudeau to trigger the Emergency Act, right? And then I watched the National Post, the Toronto Sun, a whole bunch of other podunk alt-right news outlets start deleting things. And I'm like, well, that was a gray area before, but now we know the truth, and these newspapers and outlets that got caught in a lie, they all start deleting stuff, right? I'm a big fan of the truth, and I'm a big fan of accountable content. I like to have fun within the truth and having accountable content out there. But to your point, a guy like Callum, when he does it, it's accountable content. It should be there. It is not hateful. He did not incite violence, yet there's still a trigger mechanism for Callum
there's
stuff
still
to
people
be
exploiting the rules that are in place, and that's so that
totally. But we've put that decision in other people's hands, but we've allowed them that ability with an algorithm. So when I look at regulation, and I struggle with it too, Jesse, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
I'm buddies with Michael Geist. I hate Bill C-18. I hate Bill C-11. I don't want the freedom of speech kettled. But the only solution I can see when a guy like Elon Musk owns all of Twitter and can do whatever the fuck he wants, and we're watching how that rolls, I can't see a world where there isn't some type of regulation or uniformity when it comes to users being able to use social media and to use it properly. Not in Canada, specifically with the way that they're coming out with these new bills. Like, I cannot see how it would. Also, I kind of see a path to it actually not being that bad of an idea to regulate some of the hate that we're seeing that is allowed in that discourse of free speech to not be called free speech.
But that's the thing. In Canada, we align ourselves with the notion of free speech based on an American value. The majority of Canadians don't understand our own value of free speech, because it's not free speech, it's freedom of expression, right? We're limited in Canada. I can't go down to my local bus stop and start placarding the thing with hate speech about groups of people. We have laws that prevent that. And if you're caught doing it, you're held accountable. So within that, Elon Musk, and no surprise that a South African white male who benefited from apartheid is sitting there going, well, I'm okay with hate speech. The hard part here is that if you think about what hate looks like, it has to come with directive. It has to come with pieces of conversation that become something that marginalizes individuals and say these people are to blame, or this is the reason why I'm disenfranchised. And so if you go back to World War II, obviously the conversation always goes back to these ideas, but that's what Hitler did. He leveraged hate to get people to target a group of people because let's not acknowledge the armistice. Let's not acknowledge that after World War I, you were limited in what you were allowed to build as a country, but let's blame a group of people and let's rise because of that hatred. And so that's what you try and limit with hate speech. And so in that, should social media be regulated? Of course it should be. The same way we regulate aspects of what we do in broadcast television or broadcast radio. But it doesn't mean at the end of the day that speech itself needs to be regulated. You have to also hold accountability. So if I choose to say something hateful, what's the accountability? It should be something where I'm limited, or at the end of the day, if I do cause a problem, that I have to face a consequence that might be criminal because I'm putting people's lives in danger.
Yeah, outside of the hate speech and impacting people's lives, I think a lot of the people that are getting blocked on social media, I know I see this with one person in particular who it's almost a badge of honor when he gets blocked. He's constantly bragging, I'm in Facebook prison again. Like he celebrates it. So I think something needs to change, because I totally agree with you, Jesse, from your point, and it's hard to dispute how you present your ideas about regulating it. Because I've always said I don't think they should regulate it. And I'll use Trump as an example. When they kicked Trump off Twitter, I was like, that's a mistake, because all you're doing is you're emboldening that side. You're just giving them some fuel for the ideas that they've already developed, and you're not changing their minds. So I was always against that sort of side of things. When this guy, who, by the way, we use racist to describe his nickname is racist name. When he gets kicked off Facebook, he celebrates it. Like it was like, look, I'm actually making a difference. I got somebody's attention, pissed somebody off.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now they put me in this jail that I don't give a shit about. And it's actually probably good for him to be off Facebook because I think he has some mental health issues. Surprise, surprise. But I've always been of that. I agree with the regulation. I disagree with how they wield it and how they end up, how that unintended consequence of it sometimes I think is more damaging than getting that person off of Facebook or banning them for Twitter or suspending their account. Is that fair, Jesse?
But Lachlan, well, partially Lachlan. So if we look at it two ways, one, there is no consequence from the terms of service breach from a social media company. Like you just can't access your account. You can make a new one. In real life, I have a person who resides in Canada who is not allowed to email me. If this person emails me, whether it's from a real account, a fake account, but I can identify the IP address or for some reason put together that this person contacted me, they face a breach of their condition that they agreed to with the court. That person has to make the choice not to contact me and a variety of other people because of the way they use the internet. So in that, we assign consequence in our criminal process. It shouldn't get to that point. The person should have just said, you know what, I'm done emailing this person. I'm done talking to this person. It's not working well for me. I'm done with it. The thing is, that person couldn't get over it. So just to your point of racist name here, who prides themselves that they can, get in Facebook jail, once their privilege is tested, they then either choose to embrace it and say, rah, 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 let's take on the system, or they have to make a choice and say, now this is going to cost me my freedom. And that's where this person, if they do choose to breach, would be arrested. That's the real consequence of testing your freedom, of whether or not you can actually sit in a jail cell for 24 hours and feel okay with yourself. So in that, this idea of people in their Facebook jail, there's nothing there that's really injuring their lives except for the ability to go on the internet and say more racist, dumb shit.
That's happened to you, right? Like you've had to go after somebody for abusing the privilege of trying to get in contact with you.
Yeah, this person just pled guilty a couple months ago. They're going to be sentenced in the spring. But me and a number of notable individuals in Canadian media, and they just hid behind fake internet accounts.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been good at figuring. Well, I mean, I was able to identify them pretty quick, but the problem was the process is a long one because there's not dedicated policing to really help people when they are dealing with an internet issue when somebody is targeting them. And so we say, go talk to the police will help you. I want police dealing with street level issues that really could impact society. I don't want them doing street checks of people who are challenged in their homes or in mental health. I want mental health resources. But for me to have my expertise and then go to the police and say, listen, this person's hiding behind the veil of anonymity. I've done my due diligence. Here's what I know the person is. Go do your job now. That's me also using my privilege of my work and my expertise. Not a lot of people have that. But the people that I advocated for, the other journalists and people who have worked in television media with me, they were happy because their employer didn't even have those resources either. They just said just block the account. So in that, we have a big gap in how individuals, whether it be on social media, whether it be on a dating app, whether it be in any space where they feel threatened, to feel like they can get resolution. And so that part right there is how do we reset that? And so regulation also becomes, once you choose to block somebody from one account, you shouldn't have the ability to make 10 or 15 others to go and mess around with people. And that's where Trump should have been regulated in the way he was sharing information. That office he held comes with the transparency of truth and honesty for people. If he sat there and just, the way he did, saying, the collusion or whatever, or conspiracy, the social media platform should have a responsibility of putting at the bottom, this isn't factual, you shouldn't believe this. It's unfortunate that office, though, is now being tainted that way, because there used to be at least a little bit of, the president's saying it, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's just life. We know that.
And we haven't seen any of those warnings. To your point with Trump, this was what he said. He was asked if he was going to join Twitter after Elon unblocked him. This was Trump's response. I find it funny. We'll talk about it too.
I don't see it because I don't see any reason for it. They have a lot of problems at Twitter. You see what's going on. It may make it. It may not make it. But the problems are incredible. The engagements are negative. And you have a lot of bots and you have a lot of fake accounts, which I think they should get on. But Truth Social has taken the place for a lot of people, and I don't see them going back onto Twitter.
Truth Social. That's
It's like
the way to
200,000
go.
people
man.
on that. Yeah.
That's where everyone's at. That's where all the cool MAGA Republicans.
Well,
Yeah.
it was after that.
That's why
so
I'm
he-
scared to sign up for another one because
Truth account. Yeah, I haven't signed up. For
I don't
mine
know if they're racist or not.
No.
If I tell everybody I'm on.
Pretty sure they are, yeah. But I found that interesting because that's why Elon put this up. That's why he put out this sacrilegious tweet, because he's trying to he's trying to bait, he's
Donald back.
He's trying to bait him into coming back. Like, and here's the thing is that, like, I want to say the NAACP, CBS, NBC, they're all boycotting him. They're all like, we're not using Twitter for the time being because you just allowed this guy on. And now Trump's like, I'm not joining, because if he does, my understanding is that he gets sued by the guys who fronted all the money for Truth Social because he's not allowed to be on any other format. So that was his way of saying, you know what, go fuck your hat. I can't come back. But it's fascinating because, I don't know if this did more damage. Great PR for the minute, Jess. Great PR, and we all are about PR, and we understand how it works, getting people's attention. That got like the world's attention for I don't know, 48 hours, right? It was like 48 hours before he let him back, and then he put the decision making back on the people of Twitter because he ran a poll about it. He's like, "Hey, the people have spoken." He was always going to do this, but the fallout is so incredible. And he still doesn't care. That's what I can't wrap my head around, that he still doesn't give a shit. All the terrible goodwill that he's decided to throw away, all the people that he's pissed off, the businesses that he's upset, the advertisers that he's lost. Like, as someone that doesn't have billions of dollars in the bank, I would look at this and go, my God, what are you doing? But to that point, does it not look, and you guys can all chime in, does it not look like he's just bored as fuck? Like, does it not look like he's just like, you know what? Let's just see how this goes because I'm bored of rockets and I'm super bored of electric cars and digging holes underneath Las Vegas and in California. I want to see if I can control people now. He's able to control science to an extent, but isn't that kind of what it looks like? Because if I'm him, I don't give a shit if I lose $20 billion in Saudi money. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Dean, do you have a pillow? Yeah. Dean, do you have a pillow you sleep on?
Yeah. Why?
What kind of pillow? What kind of brand do you sleep on?
It's a Tempur-Pedic.
Yeah. I know that and My Pillow. Like, those are the two brands I know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'll never buy a My Pillow.
No.
Not because it's not a good product.
They're
Not because
really good, actually.
they might be great. They might be great. But if I knew that a penny of mine was going to that asshole,
yeah,
and his dive into misinformation and anything else, I would sit there and say, it's not worth my time or energy to buy that pillow. I'll go and buy any other pillow, but I have 4 pillows on my bed. There's a bunch of throw pillows. I don't even know why they're there, but the 4, I have no idea what brand they are, but I can 100% tell you they're not My Pillow. I don't drive a Tesla for a very specific reason. It doesn't help me in what I need to do with a vehicle, but I've driven them. They're fantastic. Do I care that Elon Musk is associated to it? Not in the slightest. But right now with Musk, you are right. It seems that he's bored, but he wants to fix the things that he sees as wrong. He hasn't fixed the fossil fuel crisis with Tesla. He's made a lot of money selling a brand to people who want to buy a product because they want to feel cachet. That's it. He would, if he really cared about electric vehicle, he would build 50 different versions of those electric vehicles and make them available to the everyday user of a car and the person who wants the sexiest, fastest roadster in the world. He doesn't care. He wants to be the product. He wants you buying Elon Musk. And there's no way that I'm kneeling at that altar. And anybody who right now is sitting there going, oh, Musk is doing great, you're just a fanboy. That's all you are.
You know what's interesting about you bringing up the My Pillow is legitimately last week when he was back in the news again, I did a bit on my radio show about the fact that I have one, but I feel guilty that I own it because I'm worried about what people will think of me. And the reason I thought about it is because when we moved, I was like, oh shit, we got to hide them My Pillows. So I was putting them in black garbage bags so that the movers didn't see that we had, I swear to God. And I bought I got these pillows before I knew what Mike
Look at the
Lindell
tag.
was.
No,
You
they have
can't
my
hide
pillow
it.
literally
They're
posted
whole-
all
they're
across the
covered.
pillow. Yeah.
It says my pillow 1,000 times on them. Like
What did the My Pillow guy do? I feel like I'm missing a chapter here.
Mike Lindell is a huge Trumper, and he's been propagating the lie that the election was fixed and that Trump should have won in 2020. But he's become the voice of that message a little bit. Like he's become the poster child for it. So
He's a full-on fucking psycho,
yeah.
is what he is.
It
He's
is a
like
great
full-on Trump surrogate
Callum.
psycho. Yeah.
Callum, it's a great pillow. I actually
don't want
really
those.
like it.
There's better pillows.
He also kind of looks like the Undertaker from WWE, like when he gets up
does.
there and he pushes things.
Oh, he's a raging cock. He is such a dick.
One of the biggest losers you'll ever meet in your life, and just looks like a loser. Here, this is a picture of him. This is a picture of
We
Mike
had to
Lindell. If you haven't seen him,
We had to sell his
Yeah,
pillows
together.
on the air. Like we got them because he bought a campaign with my morning show, and we actually sponsored his pillows. And I'll tell you, when Trump got in, people we'd have to do these live reads, these 60-second live reads where we're basically gushing about him and his company and his pillow, and people would be so mad at us because he was a huge Trumper. So we had people. And you can actually still use Locker Room. It's a code. It'll get you a pillow. It'll
Jesse's
save
not
you
doing it.
25%.
he just told you he's not giving Mike Lindell any money. I don't know why.
Well,
he's giving him the
that's
promo
the
code.
funny thing. That's where we're at. Like these people become the face of these companies.
Yeah.
And if you support them, you're supporting them individually. Like I said, I'm not a Trumper, but I have this pillow. And I worry that people might think that I actually support the man because I sleep on one of these fucking things. Like,
Would you buy one of these? Would you buy one of these? Because Jesse put this up on his Twitter today. I thought it was funny. Theo Fleury's trending, I'm guessing, because his followers, warriors, not sheep, just realized they're buying merch and they're not part of a flock. That's the other thing, dude. I'm amazed at how many of these guys from the convoy, Jamie, she's doing these appearances now. Theo's doing appearances, started a merch shop. The money's running out, man. Like the grift is coming to an end. The money's running out. That's
They'll
the
live a
world
new
we
one
live in.
soon.
What's that?
No, they'll live a new one soon.
Yeah.
Well,
they're doing what, like
that's
biannual convoys to Ottawa now. They
Yeah.
had one in 2019, 2022. They'll have one in 2025 for sure.
Yeah.
Before the election.
Oh yeah.
It's interesting though that sort of that mindset, that wiring, and the people that I knew that were into that kind of thinking, right? Like fuck the government, blah blah blah. They gravitated towards something new, right? Like the convoy or whatever. It's the flavor of the week. It's funny that you mentioned that, Callum, because I specifically I was in a band for a very short period of time with a guy who was always trying to get you into watching some YouTube series that and then COVID hit, and then it was boom, he was full on into that. It was the conspiracy theories behind it, and it just became the next thing that he was going to gravitate towards. And
I think
and
there
that's
was a lot of people during COVID. I think tons of people fell into that, and I think there was a lot of people like private interest groups trying to make sure people fell into it as well, because they knew people were going to be like staying at home for an inordinate amount of time. So like, this is the time to get my propaganda to the people, right? I think there was a very coordinated effort to really get people into more crazy shit during COVID.
Well, and generally it's funny you brought up money, Dean, because a lot of times I think that there is a money side to it, right? There is a quite often there's a motivation because it does fill the pockets. I've heard this from multiple sources. That right-wing media, like that's an enterprise. Like that.
Oh yeah, big time.
Well,
down
like
in
True
the
North,
States,
Rebel. Yeah.
it is
Okay, but wait, does that mean that
Well, True
Rebel
North's a
News,
charity, actually.
does that mean that Rebel News, Dodge Ram trucks, and flag producers got together and said, all right, what can we put together as a package deal to get people? Because like I have a truck, I'm a white male, but I'm not flags flying from the back of my truck, white man.
Well, you
Like,
suck then.
yeah, well, great. I drive a Ford too, which means I'm paying for a tow truck, right? Like, what at the end of the day about my masculinity is so under threat that I have to sit there and wave that stupid thing out the back of my truck and make somebody else feel bad because they're driving a Prius. Like, I have a truck because I've got green waste. Like, that's what I do. I got a little farm. I take care of my farm. I have a truck. It won't fit into the back of a Tesla. So within that, if I see another guy parking at Walmart who's taking up 5 steps, and again, I live in BC, he's got Alberta plates. I know he exists. He doesn't need to tell me he exists with his fuck Trudeau sticker on the back, his testicles hanging off the hitch, reminding me that he works on the patch and he financed a car at 110 grand and half of his payment goes up his nose. It's so predictable. I don't need to go to his Facebook page to find out he's a douchebag. He exists.
He just doesn't want people to tread on him. Come on.
Yeah, dude. Oh, so here's a question. Let's just switch gears because the Emergency Act happened today, and we got some news, and I wanted to throw this at you. Speaking of the douchebags, because not only is it that douchebag that's like, fuck Trudeau, I want my flag, but it's like the professional douchebags that we're talking about here. And when I say professional douchebags, I think you know what I mean. I mean the guys that, how do you say it? Do the news here in Canada. Let me just put this up. This was today during the Emergency Act hearing. The big question here, if you're just joining us, is was the Emergency Act necessary? Who caused it? Who triggered it? What the fuck happened? Let me play you this. This is from today. This is the head of CSIS, which is like our Secret Service FBI. It's our secret organization. Spies, really. This is the head of CSIS basically saying, yeah, I told Trudeau to do it. Watch this.
To you, Mr. Vigneault stated that at the end of the February 13th IRG meeting, following the discussion of the Emergencies Act, he was asked by the Prime Minister to provide an opinion as to whether he supported the invocation of the Emergency Act. Mr. Vigneault explained that based on both his understanding that the Emergencies Act definition of threat to the security of Canada was broader than the CSIS Act, as well as based on his opinion of everything he had seen to that point, he advised the Prime Minister of his belief that it was indeed required to invoke the Act. And again, you remember saying that during the closed session?
Yes.
Oh.
Mic drop.
So what is the National Post going to do? What is the Toronto Sun going to do? What is True North going to do? What are the fucking losers at Rebel News going to do? Because the whole thing just fell down, Jesse. The whole thing. The whole thing.
They should
What
have
are they gonna
put that interview at the beginning of this whole thing. No?
Should have made him go first.
They're probably just going to say that CSIS is like infiltrated by Antifa and Trudeau shouldn't have listened to CSIS.
Yeah.
You know?
But like, do they like listen? It's all fun and games to spread a bunch of bullshit on Twitter. But these are professional news organizations that spread a bunch of bullshit on Twitter to affect that douchebag crowd, like you and I are talking about, the misinformation Jerry's, the guys out there going, "I'll believe anything as long as it doesn't come from that guy." What do they do now, Jesse? Like cats out of the bag. Like, what do they do?
Okay, well, one, majority of Canadians don't even know that CSIS exists. Like they're befuddled by the idea of us having some form of secret agency, right? So the hard thing is when we take conspiracy, they're very secret. They recruit on Twitter. It's actually hilarious. But as a note, like I have a colleague who joined CSIS years and years ago. I haven't heard from that colleague in a very long time. They got positions somewhere in the world. They spoke 5 languages. They were prepared to be a spy. And what they do really is stuff that keeps our national security somewhat in a way that we all enjoy our conveniences of going to the store and doing things. We don't live with a lot of threats in Canada. But the thing is, we have the second largest landmass in the world. We have to have individuals who understand what it means to have issues that occur where you might have people trying to influence your elections or trying to do things internally. But we have domestic terrorists in Canada. One of them tried to drive a truck through the gates of Rideau Hall to have a chat with the PM. I don't care if it's a Green Party. I don't care NDP. I don't care conservative, liberal, whatever you are. If you're the Prime Minister, you should have certain protections in place. And if somebody wants to drive in through the residence with guns, we need to have intelligence to minimize those risks. So in that, yeah, we're not the United States. We don't have the FBI. We don't have the CIA. We don't have Homeland Security. But the majority of Canadians have no idea how your limitations exist with those agencies the way they exist. If you enter into the United States, Homeland Security knows a lot of stuff about you as a Canadian, but they can go into your Facebook and read all this stuff. So for CSIS, this saying, hey, we had to tell the Prime Minister this, and this is what the information was available and why to do this. This is legitimate. There's no argument about it. But the hard part here is now you're going to have the conspiracy theorists going, well, after they saw the National Post, I guess Trudeau paid them off to do that. Trudeau does not have that kind of power. He has a minority government. There's no way that this guy is orchestrating any kind of puppet strings, unless, of course, you really do you believe that Castro was his father. Like, I don't get.
Have you seen the pictures? Jesse, come on.
He is pretty eerie. I know he's not, but fuck, like that was a good one. He looks exactly.
Give me a 23andMe at least. Like, do a 23andMe live with that guy who does the roots of our fathers. You know that guy on the PBS.
PBS,
like, show us where. Yeah, just do
Gotta
that
be a
for me. At
reason
least
why
put some
he stayed
legitimacy.
away from that TV show, Jesse. I'm telling you right now.
Jesse Miller, Mediated Reality, at Mediated Reality is where you can find him on Twitter. That's the name of his company, social media expert, educator. He's one of my favorite people in the world, too. So make sure you follow this guy and check out his TEDx talk online, too. You can get it on YouTube. So good. Listen, always love having you on. Thanks for answering the bell late today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I got to run. Appreciate your time.
Take care. He's got to go. Jesse Miller, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, you guys, now you know each other, Callum. Now you're pals.
I didn't know he has a TED Talk. I'll have to check that out.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. Like he's you know, I have him on here and I'm
He's
like,
really smart.
Oh, he's super smart, but he's able to grab
I can
from
tell.
his experiences and he's able to make the world a bit of a better place. I just think it's funny. You know, like we sit here for the last, what, as you pointed out, 6 weeks, right? This Emergency Act hearing. Or 5 weeks, whatever we're at. 4 weeks? 4 or 5
Something
weeks?
like that. Yeah, a little over a month, I think.
And finally, the head of CSIS, after the first 4 weeks, is like, all right, I told him to do it.
Why didn't they lead with this? I'm so confused.
That's what
that's the first person they should have interviewed. That's the very first person who should have testified.
Would it not have, like, you're laughing, Dean, but
So fucking bad.
shouldn't they put that at the front end of it? Like,
Yeah, because then we wouldn't have had the last 3 weeks, right?
Right after tons of people, I didn't even know who half these people were, right?
Yeah.
And then immediately, as soon as they bring CSIS, it's done. Like, they could end it now. We still have a couple weeks to go, don't we?
Yeah. 2 weeks. Yeah, we got 2
because
weeks
the
left.
point of this was to figure out. It's insane.
The point of this was to figure out who said trigger the Emergency Act, right? Well, guess what? It's the head of CSIS.
It's over.
It's over. The whole thing's done.
What are we going to do for the next 2 weeks?
I'd be
Keep the party
so angry
tomorrow
if
and
this
then
was
we're done?
if I was in high school and this was my homework.
I'd
You
be
spent
so
6
pissed.
weeks putting it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh,
Are you fucking serious? You know how much money we've spent? Do you know how apparently the lead attorney Brendan Miller went nuts after that happened too. He was like angry. He was asking questions. He got in trouble, and he's about to get sued, which is funny because he sued us 3 weeks ago because I made fun of his comb over.
Do we know who he's getting sued by?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we do. Let me grab that little tidbit of information for you. Let's get this. I think it's right here, if I'm not mistaken.
And what was he doing? Just getting out of hand at the hearings? Like, getting
he was angry. He's angry because the CSIS guy was like, yeah, here we go. Today, in the scope of the Emergencies Act inquiry, Brendan Miller, the lawyer representing Freedom Corps, made an entirely unsubstantiated and deeply offensive accusation against Enterprise Canada principal Brian Fox, one of the owners of Enterprise Canada. For the record, there's no truth to this absurd and despicable accusation. Neither Brian Fox nor anyone from Enterprise Canada was in attendance at the Freedom Convoy protests in any capacity. Mr. Fox and everyone at Enterprise Canada firmly against the hatred represented by the symbol Mr. Miller referenced and strives for workplace to be inclusive. Both Mr. Fox and Enterprise Canada will review all legal options and take swift actions to defend against this unsubstantiated and personal and professional reputation.
oh,
Mr. Fox.
This
And
was
because you know what he said? He said,
He's got a Nazi flag.
Yeah, exactly. Brendan Miller insinuated the head guy from Enterprise Canada was at the convoy brandishing a Nazi flag, which indeed not only was he not, he wasn't even there. And so now Brendan, after he found out that the head of CSIS was like, yeah, I called it. That's totally Emergency Act material. So I told the Prime Minister to trigger it, and I'm the head of CSIS, and I know everything, and you know nothing. Brendan Miller was like, yeah, well, the president of Enterprise Rent-A-Car, he had a Nazi flag, and now the president of Enterprise is like, actually, no, I was in the Bahamas. I'll be suing you, you fat fuck. That's what he just said to him.
The accusation, I guess, being like the Enterprise car guy was the Antifa people pretending to I guess, putting the flags in the Freedom Convoy to plant these right way, because that's what they say, right? The flags weren't theirs; they were Antifa's. So, yeah, they're saying the Enterprise Canada guys.
Yeah, handed the Enterprise Canada guy a Nazi flag real quick, just in time to take a picture, and that's what they did the whole weekend. That's what this Brendan Miller guy's been telling everybody. It's all Antifa. They were handing out flags. Like they were caught in a lie. Everybody was caught in a lie. The National Post was caught in a lie. The Toronto Sun, Laurie Goldstein, Brian Lilly, every single fucking writer that was like that Emergencies Act was a power grab. They all got caught in a lie. Andy Lee deleted her account this afternoon.
I saw that.
Is that because of the conflict?
Just straight up deleted it.
Oh, dude. And like literally newspapers and True North and those fucking losers are literally deleting things today.
I got to see what Brian Lilly's talking about today. What he's talking about to distract us.
Probably begging what he said.
Convoy counsel Brendan Miller had a chance to ask CSIS director any questions he wanted. He asked about messages between political staffers that someone would know nothing about. He wasted valuable time. Okay. Interesting. Just talk about something else about the hearing.
We just spent 6 weeks when this could have been. I mean, am I wrong? Are we like
could have been 2 minutes?
Literally, this whole thing. Like,
could have been 2 minutes.
Wrong, right? Like, we're not exaggerating.
No, they literally could have been the CSIS guy. Enter CSIS guy, first witness of the day, of the first day. JT, did you tell Justin Trudeau to do this? Yes. Over.
Justin,
let's go home.
That's it.
Did the CSIS guy tell you to do this? Yes. All right. Okay.
Where's the CSIS guy? Right here.
Can we make happy hour? Is happy hour still on?
Yeah. Can we get to the pub? Can I just show you how fast this entire hearing 6 weeks, tens of millions of dollars. Let me show you how fast this could have been. Isn't it? Yeah, it's over now. I mean, this is it. That's all we needed to hear. Watch this. Head of CSIS, lawyer. Was the Emergency Act triggered by you? Yeah. Watch. 2 minutes, not even.
To you, Mr. Vigneault stated that at the end of the February 13th IRG meeting, following the discussion of the Emergencies Act, he was asked by the Prime Minister to provide an opinion as to whether he supported the invocation of the Emergency Act. Mr. Vigneault explained that based on both his understanding that the Emergencies Act definition of threat to the security of Canada was broader than the CSIS Act, as well as based on his opinion of everything he had seen to that point, he advised the Prime Minister of his belief that it was indeed required to invoke the Act. And again, you remember saying that during the closed session?
Yes. Yeah. So a lot of the conversation, I think, now is going to morph into our people that live in this country that represent us politically. Are they safe? And do we have a problem in this country with violence against politicians and people of office? I think that's going to be a big part of the discussion moving forward, and I think that's a good thing because I mean, you're seeing it down in the States, right? And
well, you can make an argument
work its way into Canada. Unfortunately,
and you can make an argument that Fox News is the one that has incited the most hate in a democratic United States of America. You can also make a very fucking serious argument that the Toronto Sun, right here, the National Post, or as I like to call them, the White Nationalist Post, and the Toronto Son of Odin. You can make an argument that after what we just heard from the head of CSIS, that these two people, these two organizations are seditionists. These two organizations are very anti-Canadian. These two organizations have spent an inordinate amount of time curating bullshit news stories and fighting against Canadians and trying to convince their readership and other Canadians that what they're seeing and what they're hearing isn't real, right? That Brian Lilly, Lori Goldstein, all the same fucking losers that all align on their right, that all want to help people that give them checks, that all are, none of them are doing news. They're doing agency bits. They're doing propaganda. And you can literally make an argument, Rebel News, True North, National Post, Toronto Sun, a couple other Podun organizations, some traditional media.
Do they call them just Rebel News?
Do
they call themselves a Rebel News? But down in the States, they actually Fox calls themselves an entertainment source.
Yeah.
Like
they don't call themselves Fox News.
No, when they go to court, they say we're not news, we're entertainment, and that's how they get out of these
like
these
WWE.
lawsuits. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They, like we're not a sport, we're entertainment. Yeah,
there's an element of that, right? The problem is in the segmented world that we live in. Unfortunately, it's something we're going to have to just you have to combat that. Unfortunately, I also think a lot of the responsibility of who says what and why needs to fall a little bit. Unfortunately, again, I repeat, on the user, not Alberta.
Oh.
The users, you have to be aware of what you're reading, right? Like if I watch a news source, I've got a pretty good idea of where they stand, right? I think most people, people should be you should be educated enough to know that if you're reading Rebel News, there's probably an underlying attempt to convince you of their narrative. No?
I think a lot of people didn't learn to research. You know what I mean? Like they actually just don't know how to understand or like how to vet the media that they're watching to make sure it's real or not, which is maybe part of why you see people falling down these conspiracy rabbit holes and whatnot, and like trusting the least trustworthy news sources and sharing it to Facebook, and somebody's like, hey, this is from like a fake news site, and they have no idea because they don't know how to research because nobody taught them. I think that's a real problem.
But that's a great point. Like Locke, we grew up, but like to that point, you and I, like Calvin, you're younger than us. What are you, 30?
Not quite, 24.
So you're a little bit younger than us. Jesus fucking Christ.
Not quite.
Yeah, so we're double your age. Anyway, so when we grew up,
24 beer yesterday.
When we grew up, the news was the news, right? That was it. Like there were no cell phones, nothing.
Yeah,
if you wanted to get informed, you sat in front of the television from 6 to 7, right? Yeah. Or you open up a newspaper, or you listen to the radio. And by and large, everybody was delivering the same news. It was the real race was who can get the news to people first. That was the thing. Who can be first out there. And so it was never about who can massage the news to sound like something to somebody and something to somebody else. That never happened. It was all, we only got news from certain outlets, and by and large, there were rules in place. That news was really important. So we grew up in a time when research wasn't necessary. Like if you read something or saw something in the news, you were like, it's got to be true. It was on the news, right? Like that's how Lachlan and I grew up. Yeah. You grew up in a different fucking world where it's like, my God, I have to research. I have to look into this. And so you're a million times smarter than us. Like when you do your videos, there's so much information there. I'm like, this guy fucking had to research from the age of 7 just to get it right. You know what I mean? Like we didn't. And so there's this trust factor there that sits with really dumb old white people where they're like, I never had to research. I had never had to do 2 extra steps after watching the news, reading a story, just to figure out if it was true. That's all I do now. And that's all normal people should do.
Yeah. Well, it's a muscle, I think, that the younger generation has had to exercise. And I think that if we can like plant a flag in the hope mountain right now, that's it. I think that kids it's harder to fool them, right? they have a better sense. I mean, there's always there's stupid people out there. There's dumb people that get tricked in. But I feel good about you're going to hear a lot less conversation moving forward, in my opinion, about fake accounts, the damage of this, like all these conversations that we are like fake news, misinformation. We're so overwhelmed by that conversation because Dean and I grew up that way, where we had people who are we going to trust to regulate this? Moving forward, I think Callum and my daughters, they will just like, oh, that's a fake story. That's not true. That's a fake account. That's not true. And they'll move on with their lives because it's just been part of their existence. Right. So I agree with Jesse. Something has to be done, but those lines and where regulation actually does exist and how it impacts people is the problem I have with it, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, just going back to what Jesse said, a lot of this seems to, like with Dean, what you were saying about the Toronto Star and the Sun and all these like news organizations that aren't really delivering news, but more like their stories. Mm-hmm. When people talk about like defunding the CBC or whatever, like Pierre Poilievre, if they did that, defund the CBC, that's the last public utility news. It's the only public utility news, right? So then, like Twitter, all of the news organizations would become privatized. So there's a real argument to like keep that because it's like the beacon of truth, because it has to be, because it's a public utility, right? Yeah. And it can't have this private interest behind it. And I guess that it interests me that kind of the same thing is going on with actual news as is with Twitter, and maybe all of this shit should be public utility, like the news.
But we're always going to have people that fill in or jump into these holes, Callum.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. Like I hear a lot. I hear a lot of people talking about podcasts and alternative sources of information. If it's out there and you choose to look for it and find it, it can help. It can help, right?
Yeah.
And I think we get into trouble at my other job quite often. We'll get complaints, not trouble. We'll get complaints sent to, and I always find it wildly entertaining that they're mad at something we said during the news, right? And they take the time to write an email. Like if you're getting your news,
I just did the fucking news. Like I told a story and you didn't like that story, but that's the news. You can not like the news if you like.
I interject quite a bit, Dean.
I'm sure.
But the thing is, if you're mad at me for something I said on the locker room about the news, we got a problem, right? And that's what makes this conversation interesting to me, because I think a lot of people get unnecessarily angry at things that just doesn't matter, right?
Mm-mm.
Anyway.
No, I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah.
Like the whole Danielle Smith thing, right? And there's a lot of things.
I think we should defund CBC though.
Well, no,
I think Callum, that was a great idea.
Yeah. But Danielle Smith.
Thanks, I thought of it myself.
The Premier of Alberta, who's literally a QAnon psycho. She's your premier. She's your premier. Both your premiers are in Calgary. Wow. This weekend, don't you know what she did? She claimed to be part Cherokee.
We can't even keep track anymore. They barely cover it.
What is that? Why would somebody do that?
Claim to be part Cherokee?
Say that their grandma's a Cherokee princess? Who knows? Who knows? Why the fuck would you do that if you're the
She said she grandma was a Cherokee princess? She went full princess?
I don't think she said that. That's just something that like white people say, I think, that their grandma was a Cherokee princess.
Okay, because you're white.
That's one I've heard.
Yeah. So she claimed last week, she's like, I'm part Cherokee Native. I'm part Cherokee Indian. So the APTN, the official network of Indigenous people in this country, is like, all right, let's go through the genealogy of where she says she's from. They went back to 1820, could find no record of any person she was ever related to. And they're like, you're not even close to Cherokee. We don't know what the fuck you are, but you're not registered as a Cherokee native. You're no parts native. You're no parts Indigenous. So this weekend, she held this big thing where she's talking about Alberta sovereignty, right? And she brought in some people from different treaties, some Indigenous people from different treaties in to talk about it. And they brought it up in front of the Indigenous people from different treaties in Alberta. Hey, what do you make of Danielle Smith saying she's part Cherokee? Watch the response. It's all world.
A related question about our premier. For years, Danielle Smith has claimed that she has Indigenous heritage. There's more.
Jesus.
They all laughed at her. They all laughed at the sitting premier who called that meeting. Let's watch it
A
again.
related question about our premier.
Oh, she's there.
For years, Danielle Smith
yeah.
has claimed that she has Indigenous heritage.
Look at the white guy. The white guy doesn't
He is
fight.
having. That guy's having none of it. That is the least funny
I
thing
think
this guy's ever heard.
I think he's trying not to laugh. I think he's trying to.
He's like,
He's closing his eyes.
here we
Don't
go.
laugh.
There's more.
I think he's pissed off. He's ready to just tear Danielle a new one. He's like, I couldn't wait for you to ask me that question.
I don't think you have to answer it with the room bursting out laughing.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you
This
do.
isn't the first time though that politicians have
Stolen Indigenous valor?
well,
No.
yeah, like,
It might be the
I
first
don't-
I've heard of it. I think. I don't know.
I think it's the
Well,
first time like a sitting premier of a province is like told an outright lie about her heritage
was,
being Indigenous and that being easily debunked. It's the
There
first
was
time.
there was an American politician. I'm trying to remember her name. She did the same thing.
Yeah, her name is Elizabeth Warren. She did the exact same thing.
She
Yeah,
did
a
the
couple
same
years
thing.
ago. Yeah. But she was.
She even
Did they-
said Cherokee. She also said Cherokee, didn't she?
That's
she did.
what I.
Yeah.
That's why I was laughing about the Cherokee thing because
They,
it's
they always say that.
Cherokee princess. There
That's
you
the
go.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, you
yeah,
got it.
yeah.
Yeah. So no, I don't know why anybody would do that, other than for attention or to be endeared to a group of people. But like when you are from a province with the most Indigenous people out of every province that can easily debunk everything you're saying about your Indigenous genealogy, you are a stupid idiot. Like just an
says-
incredible stupid idiot.
It says a lot about what she thinks of, Indigenous people's ability to fact check that kind of thing, and the document keeping, and how much is not like maybe she almost thinks that nobody can check. Anyway, I think that's got to be like the worst thing she's ever done, to be honest. Like, it's just so fucking bad. It's and she's done a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of it's not just embarrassing. It's on another level. Like
It's sociopathic. Like
It's really disgusting,
that's
yeah.
what amazes me
It is
about her. Like, I mean, to easily say anything about science, like she'll say anything she wants about anti-science shit, which is easily debunked, but she keeps doing it, right? And she's so stupid. She's like, "Oh, also, I'm part Cherokee," and everybody's like, "Well, we'll just look it up, dummy."
Right,
And they look it
yeah.
up. You know what I mean? Like,
Just
like,
debunk
it's
it
just-
like everything else she says.
yeah, like I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how someone like that can operate and go, I feel pretty good about me today. I feel not bad.
I have like this one I don't get. I still don't quite understand why she would do this. It's baffling. And she has baffled me quite a bit. The thing that I have been, and I gotta be honest with you, I give her a little bit of respect. Like, we've talked about this before. I don't know if Callum's aware of my thoughts or opinions about Danielle Smith, but I'm glad she's sticking in, like she's hanging around, because it's very entertaining for me.
It's good for the NDP, that's for sure.
Well, it definitely is helping Rachel out for sure. But the thing that I find wildly fascinating about Danielle is a lot of times you will say the things that get you to the position to get you to a position in politics, right? Because your base is crazy. So you placate the base. And then when you get out, when you get the job, you're comfortable, then you start to pull back
Dial it back a bit.
Dial it back a bit, and then you ease off the throttle on that stuff, right? You got the job. She hasn't. If
No, she's turned it up.
She's been priming the engine.
She's
going.
flatlining. Yeah, right now.
I love it. You gotta, on some level, you have to kind of respect that.
Mhm.
She believes
The
what she
tenacity,
believes.
you mean?
Yes, like
The tenacity to like willingly be stupid all the time, like and to not have a problem with it when every
I
time
don't
you're
really-
stupid you get corrected and you don't care. Like that is some kind of special idiot, right?
I don't
Like,
think it's willing because I don't think she has a choice. I honestly think this is just like, I bet she thinks they're good ideas. I really think.
Really?
Yeah,
I think she thinks it's a good idea to say that she's
Cal-
Cherokee. Yeah.
just the way everything is with such confidence. Like I've never seen somebody be so confident in any political role, I think. And that's not like that sounds like a compliment. It's not.
No. It's
So-
one of the
so
greatest
confident.
examples
Trump-
of Dunning-Kruger. Like if you think
Trump
about it,
does
it's
it
like
too.
Trump does it. Yeah, willingly, just yammers and is like, if I do it with enough tonality, then I'm going to be right, and no one's going to
Yeah.
certain percentage of the population that he's playing the odds, right?
Yeah.
And I think she's trying it as well. And I don't know if it's deliberate. I think Callum, Callum's probably more closer to. She truly believes this. I think that's closer to the.
I could be wrong. I just think she had her podcast and stuff, which is where a lot of people pull these like the old bad stuff that she said from like the cancer comments that she made about getting stage 4 cancer is your fault, and the shit with Russia sympathization stuff. That was
the
all from her
ivermectin
podcast.
video. That was an ivermectin video from her podcast too. Yeah, where she's like,
And before she got back into the UCP or before there was a leadership race. So unless she was making some good money from that, she must believe a lot of it to some degree.
guaranteed.
I
That's where
didn't
the
hear
nation's
her
moving.
radio show in Calgary. Did you ever listen to her radio show? But
No, I didn't actually.
yeah, I've heard that she was a little crazy on that too. Like that she had some rather unique positions on stuff. Which again, if you're in radio, that could benefit you, right? You know,
That's true. Yeah.
There was a,
You know?
this comes to mind, and I know that it's happened before, but Saucy Sea Witch, she talked about flat earth theory not being given enough of a chance in school curriculum.
Did she really?
On her podcast, yeah.
Well,
She really
you know
gave the
that
flat earth theory a real shot. Like really.
I never knew where the
They're
flat
not being
Earth thing-
fair to the flat earth theory.
The most disrespected and marginalized victims in the world. Flat earth kids.
You know what?
Flat Earth
When we went to the Flat Earth conference, I remember having a moment of, okay, that's what this is. So that's a religious position.
Flat Earth
because
thing?
in the Flat Earth thing, it was originally brought up. There's a mention of it in the Old Testament, apparently, like one of the first copies of I don't know enough about the Bible or religion to know I should just shut up about it. But apparently some line that has been since changed. And that's where the Flat Earth, that group is generally where it starts. And that's, and because there was a lot of, there was a lot of churchy stuff at that Flat Earth conference.
Yeah, they're all dumb. They're all dumb evangelical churchy fucking losers, right?
It does explain it that they want it so bad because it says it in the Bible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they really did not like the fact that James, the little person on our show, was at that conference dressed in a globe, though. They were upset at.
Were they mad? Did you get kicked out?
There was one guy, he was so pissed at us, and he just followed us around going, "This is not funny. You guys aren't funny. Are you guys trying to be funny?" And we're like, "We're just here. We bought tickets. We're just here to see.
Just walking around.
We're curious. He's like, and then security ended up following us as well. They had their own security.
They had Flat Earth Society has their own security. Wow.
But the thing is, they think, Callum, we're all brainwashed. and
Yeah,
that
into
we've
the
been
round Earth or the spherical Earth.
yeah, and that we have this inability to see the truth for what it is. And so when you have that kind of conviction to something, you can pretty much convince yourself of just about anything. And that's what's special about, we're going to remember these Danielle Smith times, Callum, in our province. We need to jump in and just
you guys see her on
cherish this.
Did you see her with Peterson, Jordan Peterson? You see her interview with Peterson?
Oh, I'm just watching it. I've taken like multiple days to get through the 1 hour. It's a real ride.
It's crazy. It's like 10 out of 10 crazy. Because it's not even really an interview with her. It's just him saying a bunch of words and her going, yeah.
It's mostly him, yeah, I was going to say. And then she
Right?
doesn't disagree with anything that he says. No matter,
Yeah.
it almost seems like he's slowly turning it up just to see how crazy he can go without her disagreeing.
Yeah, here's a clip. This is fucking unbelievable.
We put tremendous stress on poor people by jacking up energy and food prices. All that's going to be disastrous for the planet. In the terms that the environmentalists themselves hypothetically hold dear, the idea that we can make the planet more habitable on the environmental front by impoverishing poor people, by raising energy prices and food prices is absolutely, it's not only absurd logically, but I think it's tantamount to genocidal in its intent. It's really appalling.
It creates grave danger.
You know
It's
what?
absurd.
I always stay away from Jordan Peterson. I can't.
Oh yeah, I can't stay away as much as I want to.
I can't either. He is such a piece of shit. He's like a nuclear billy goat shit. He is the biggest piece of garbage you will ever see in your life. And not only is he an enormous piece of garbage, he's a fucking agent of a foreign country. He is the most hateful fraud from any discipline in psychology or academics or anybody who's got a degree. That guy is fucking human garbage. He is a skin tag on the profession of psychology and academia. He is lost in his mind. He is so fucked up in the head. All he operates on is what he used to be, and he is so confused about what he is now. And the only thing he cares about is staying as close to the conservative tit as he can and trying to grow his base of equally dumb and angry, small, peckered incels. And that is what he is. That's it.
Well, I stay away because quite often he says stuff that really resonates with me.
I
don't want to have.
Agree with him so
I
much.
don't want to have this conversation with a guy who just about an hour ago told us on how he's really, really trying not to call anybody any names anymore, but just spent 6 minutes
dressing down the dumbest human being on the planet.
Because I honestly, I've seen him. I've heard his interviews. The most I've heard him is on Joe Rogan, and I've always been. I get it. Like, I understand why people gravitate towards him. Now I have questions about his. I mean, obviously his mental health. He's gone over the top. But back in the day when he was starting to get a little bit of notoriety, and I would listen to him and I would go, you know what? He has an interesting way of getting to a point, right? And
He's a verbal trickster.
He is definitely, and that's part of it. And again, I think he's obviously lost his mind, and I think a lot of it had to do with getting off the benzos, whatever he did to himself in Russia.
The all meat diet probably wasn't helpful for him either.
Yeah, the 2 month sobriety coma probably didn't help his fucking brainwaves either. Some things aren't operating at full speed upstairs.
But back in the day,
dude, yeah,
I used to listen to him, and I used to go, okay, you know,
not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's not. It's not the worst thing I've heard. He's gone. Yeah,
no, he's lost his mind.
I always
he used
worry,
to be.
though.
No, hang on. Some of the stuff he said, and I will say this, and Callum, you might be able to say the same thing. If you go back 10 years and you watch a lecture, you're like, oh, that kind of makes some sense in certain ways, and I kind of don't mind how he got there. If you watch him now, it's a different story. He just hates everybody. He hates everything. He hates everybody. He stays in everybody else's lane. He's not talking about helping people. All he does is shit on things, which is why I love supercuts like this.
Radioactivity is not dangerous. I like being naked in Chernobyl with the boys. And they say, get out of here. It can kill you. It's like, how the hell are you? First of all, that's not true. So cosmic rays come zipping through the atmosphere and they nail your dick. And then all of a sudden, you're dead. Really? Really? Like, no. So we won't leave.
There's a lot of audio of him out there, eh?
Yeah,
tons. Thousands of hours, probably. He was filming like 10-hour lectures and uploading them.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, he's like 4-hour lectures he would put up there all the time.
Well, I think that he was on drugs too, right? Like he was
tons.
So yeah.
Well, yeah. Did you not watch that last supercut?
I don't know about
Activity is not dangerous. I like being naked in Chernobyl with the boys. And they say, get out of here. It can kill you. It's like, how the hell are you? First of all, that's not true. So cosmic rays come zipping through the atmosphere and they nail your dick. And then all of a sudden, you're dead. Really? Really? Like, no. So we won't leave. That's that.
That's drugs. That's got to be drugs.
I love that. I love being naked in Chernobyl with the boys.
It's got to be drugs, right? That's the only way to explain it. Anyway. Great to see you guys today.
Manic.
Callum at Callum XOXOX on Twitter, or is that TikTok? Where do you want people to go to watch you, Callum?
That's the Twitter. My TikTok, I think, is exactly the same, but with a dot in between the Callum and the XOXOX.
Okay.
So that should be easy. And no YouTube, obviously.
Yeah, you got canceled, huh?
You're going to fight it, though, right?
No.
You know, I did. I appealed it, and it was at midnight. I sent in my submission for appeal, and 10 minutes later, at midnight, I got an email, 1:30 a.m., that they said they're not bringing my channel back. So a human didn't even review it, because I don't post 10-minute video. Like, you can't review my channel in 10-minute period. So I managed to get a second appeal through a connection that I have who's more connected than me, who's like in touch with like a YouTube rep and stuff. So I was able to get a second appeal, and now they're gonna review it again for real this time, hopefully, and we'll see what happens.
You pissed off somebody and they went after you, I think is what this is.
Yeah.
But I don't, I don't want to get too into the conspiracy theory shit because
you don't want to be like them. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll stick to the moon landing is fake, and that'll be my one.
Don't do that here, okay? Don't do the moon landings fake here. Not at the end of the thing. We got all kinds of.
Stanley Kubrick directed the moon landing. I'll leave everybody with that.
Callum McGinnis at
Grant
Callum
brought up
XOXOX.
a really good point on my show the other day. Why does it seem if it took 50 years from when we went up last time, why is it so involved now? That was
why do we need so much
why
more
are the
shit?
Russians going to the moon now?
Yeah.
50, 60 years later? Some space race.
Yeah. Fuck you.
I don't buy it.
Some space.
I'm going to radicalize your viewers on this subject.
Cal,
thanks, buddy. Great to see you.
You and I we need to talk about the moon. We have you back. We'll talk about
the moon anytime. You're come back. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, pal.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Callum McGinnis, ladies and gentlemen. My friend Callum XOXOX on Twitter. Callum.
I apologize. I was not at my best today, Dean.
What are you talking about? You were great today.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I felt like I might have put in a marginal effort just based on how I feel.
No, you're great. Like as far as hungover shows go, you crushed that one.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Really liked it.
Just before I got on here, I took an awful dump in that room right beside me.
Do you know who you reminded me of? And this is what we'll close with. See the snowstorm in Buffalo this weekend? 7 feet. Like unbelievable. Biggest. It's like every year to 2 years, the 1,000-year storm every year to 2 years in Buffalo. You remind me of a guy who a news crew caught up with just as soon as he was done digging himself out. Watch this.
Pretty good, but I'm running out of beer, which is a problem, and weed. But that's my own fault. I should have stocked up ahead of time, honestly.
That guy has been planning that his whole life, though. He's been waiting for the news guy to come and interview him at his house
Forever.
And he said to his boys, "You know what I'm going to do? I am going to tell them I'm out of beer and weed." You can't deny it. Look how happy he is that she asked him that.
Come over here. I got the greatest answer for whatever question you have. She's like, how are you making out?
All cleared up? Pretty good, but I'm running out of beer, which is a problem, and weed. You don't want to drink. But that's my own fault. I should have stocked up ahead of time, honestly.
I love how he blames himself too. He's like, that's on me. I mean,
That guy, he reminds me of Grant. That's a Grant. That's an older.
That's you. Are you kidding me?
All cleared up? Pretty good, but I'm running out of beer, which
Look
is
how
a
much
problem.
snow they got.
And weed. You don't want to drink. But that's my own fault. I should have stocked up ahead of time, honestly.
So chill. Have a great day, dude. Great to see you.
That was a good one.
Caesar.
All right,
Caesar.
brother.
Get over that hangover.
I did have a moment this morning. Most nights after I have this revelation, I do talk myself out of it. But I did sort of. It was actually while I was in that room, destroying that bathroom, and thinking about what I did last night, the regret about consuming as much alcohol as I did. I thought to myself, maybe I won't drink this week because it's going to be another heavy one this weekend. We got our Christmas party and they gave us cab chits. So I'll workshop the idea.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to you on it.
Yeah,
about tonight.
Workshop it. Have a great day, brother. Great to see you.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Take care, pal. There you go. Lachlan Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. Thanks to Callum. Thanks to Jesse Miller. Thanks to this guy.
All cleared up? Pretty good, but I'm running out of beer, which is a problem, and weed. You don't want to drink. But that's my own fault. I should have stocked up ahead of time, honestly.
Yeah. You got to prepare, dog. That's what you got to do. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks to our friends at Cantork. Who is Cantork? Great question. These guys are the name in Canada's assembly tool experts. Cantork makes rugged, hardworking, beautiful torque wrenches. Canada's leading industrial tool experts, offering you the very best in sales, service, rentals, calibration, maintenance, and custom fabrication. Industrial torque tools, they are solutions people for fastening and tightening and loosening applications that you just can't find an application for. They build tools and the best in the world, and they're Canadian made, Canadian manufactured. These are good people that do good work in Canada, out in Edmonton. And if you need an industrial tooling solution, this is your crew. Colin Livingston and his group do this every day. That is what they do. Solutions in the industrial tooling business. Cantork.com for more information. Also, thanks to our friends at kivlaw.ca. If you're looking for a great defense attorney, my friend Robert at kivlaw.ca is your guy. Email him. He will email you back, Robert at kivlaw.ca, or just send him an email. Go to his website. He's got a ton of information on there. You can surf around. Go to kivlaw.ca and see his discipline, see what he's up to. Southern Ontario's best defense attorneys always work on your behalf for your freedom and a solution that helps you get out of the jam you're in, whether you did it or not. He wants you to have a good life from here on in. So do all the attorneys that work at kivlaw.ca. So hit him up today, kivlaw.ca. Again, Robert at kivlaw.ca, Southern Ontario's best defense attorneys. And last but not least, Ed Ed's Fine Imports. It's Christmas. You know your guy needs a new pair of underwear. Get luxury boxer briefs. Ed's Fine Imports. You can't get better underpants. You just can't. Pouch in the front, boxer briefs, super breathable, come in a ton of different colors, great waistband. You will love them. It'll be the last pair of underwear you buy, guaranteed. edsfineimports.com. Gitch3 is your promo code. He'll send some gifts for you. All you got to do is order online. Send that special fella in your life. Maybe it's your dad, maybe it's your uncle, maybe it's your brother, maybe it's your loved one, maybe it's a husband, maybe it's your boyfriend. Doesn't matter who it is. Send them some great underwear from edsfineimports.com this Christmas. Gitch3 is your promo code. Fourth pair is free when you use that promo code. Free underwear. If it's free, it's for me. Great way to Christmas shop when you get a free pair of underwear at edsfineimports.com. Clothing for men and boys. Check them out today. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock. That's where we'll see you. Sign up for a newsletter, deanblundell.com. See you tomorrow on 3.